Rachel V. Hill, taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of Joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
All right, everybody. It's been a minute, but James Palmer and I are back. James, how are you? It's obviously been quite a few weeks.
I didn't like this whole coffee break with Rachel V. Hill, and then every time it ended, there was a different face other than yours. I had a great time chatting with everybody. It's just not the same, and now we're back. You're back from Switzerland. Super excited. Magical place.
James actually had some recommendations for me while I was out there in Switzerland.
Did you use any of them?
We did not do any of the boat tours just because it was rather chilly. So that was one of the big bummers. But I mean, you gave us tips on some cash and stuff like that. And it was beautiful. And the beer out there was fantastic too. So overall, 10 out of 10 trip. Recommend to anyone.
Oh, yes.
Oh, so
wonderful place.
I also recommend coming back to when the Broncos are going to play a really bad team. And then you get to be talking about a Broncos win at home for the rest of the week. But I feel like everybody's kind of skipped over the Panthers already, James. And everyone's looking ahead already to the Ravens and what this Broncos team can do and how they can compete with them. From your eyes, just overall view, where's the number one area where the Broncos can possibly capitalize against the Ravens?
Let's see. I've seen Baltimore in person this year. I went out to watch that game between them and the Commanders earlier this year, a couple of weeks ago, Rachel. So had a chance to see them up close, talk to a lot of people in the building, and kind of see what they're all about. I mean, this is a team that is moving. Let's just remember too, first, if Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in football, doesn't drop an easy interception thrown literally directly to him by Jameis Winston, they beat the Browns. That was the play before the touchdown pass. So they'd be rolling even further, but they did have some trouble with the Browns. And I think we should put that into perspective before we talk about this game, because Jim Schwartz, the defense coordinator in Cleveland, has always given the Ravens and Lamar Jackson trouble. He's always done pretty well, honestly, against powerful running backs like Derrick Henry. So I don't know if that's an outlier. I think it kind of is. Divisional game, change at quarterback, giant boost for Cleveland, right? And they kind of get everything going. They change play callers, and they get a W. The Ravens are still one of the best teams in football. I love this test for the Denver Broncos. How do they find their advantage? You hope the secondary's banged up like it was against Cleveland. I don't know if that's going to be the case. They've had a difficult time getting after the quarterback. And I think the Broncos have obviously done a really good time protecting Bo Nix. Bo has gotten out of some of those sacks, right, himself. We'll give him some credit. But the offensive line as a whole has done a decent job giving him some time. I think that's where they can find their advantage. And that's why Baltimore is looking, to my understanding, for an added pass rusher before the trade deadline. Because they've had some issues getting after the quarterback. That's where I would look for my advantage, because we can get into, and let's do it, the strength on strength on the other matchup. But this is, I think, the spot where they have an opportunity to throw the football with some time and pick apart a defense that plays a lot of zone, find your spots, and they've had some difficult times getting after the quarterback. I'd take advantage of that part, and obviously that's probably where Sean's looking.
Well, and what was so fascinating, James, is even when I was gone, still away, of course you're paying attention. It's late there in Switzerland. So I got the Broncos games on while we're in the hotel rooms. But I woke up every single morning after a Broncos game and everyone's talking about Bo Nix's legs. And it's it's great that he can run. I'm happy to see that. But we need to see his arm. We have running backs. We need to see a quarterback. And it was nice to finally see that this week. And it will be interesting to see kind of how I feel like there was an emphasis this week to have Bo stay in the pockets. Usually there was times where we would see him start to run. We saw one of the sacks that pushed him out of field goal ranges. It felt like the emphasis was stay in the pocket, see what you can do this week. And so it'll be interesting to see that balance between Bo taking off and running and also staying in the pocket to see what he can do and who he can throw it to.
Yeah, and I think we saw that last week, the week before this Panthers game in New Orleans on the Thursday night game. The throws were there, right? And he was making plays, obviously, with his legs, but the throws were there in the pocket with what you're talking about, and he missed them, and he missed several of them, and that was obviously a big thing. Talking with, I think it was, Zach and Phil, they were like, did he take a step back in that game? And I was like, no, I don't think he did, because he's seeing it. He's going through his progressions. He's seeing where he should go with the football. Your mind's moving quickly. There's all these different, the progress for a young quarterback is not linear in their rookie season, right? There's these ebbs and flows to your progress as long as it's genuinely going in an upward direction, which is what Bo's doing. And then he went back and figured out some of the things that, are already staples in his game. He has decent footwork. He has good accuracy. These were things that the Broncos were attracted to from the jump. They just kind of maybe seem to go away for a minute there as he's still just, this game is figuring out. My mind's working really fast. And I get an opportunity to now slow my mind down a little bit and go through these progressions. We saw that against Carolina. I think that's what we saw kind of come together. It's great to have that aspect of your legs when you get into trouble. It's almost becoming, I don't want to say it has to be part of your game in today's NFL at the quarterback position, but you have to have some mobility. You know what I mean? I mean, even guys that people don't think about that are mobile, Joe Burrow can move, man. Like he can really, really move, and he can move within the pocket. And this is something that I think Bo has, he wants to not rely on it, like you said. That's the main thing. Like, don't sit there and look at it first. Go and make sure you go through your reads, get some more production out of the tight end spot, find a way to get some of your other guys involved, and throw the football from the pocket. I think he can do that well against Baltimore. I really do.
How about National Tight Ends Day with everyone in the league just popping off?
Wild, right? I always get the T-shirt every year. Some years are better than others. I'm not gonna lie. Last year's fabric was a little bit like heavy. You don't like those heavy, thick T-shirts, but they sent me one last year for National Tight End Day, and I didn't get one this year. I'm a little upset. Maybe it's in the mail. I don't know. But outstanding day. I mean, I had some of the stats. I don't really feel like I need to pull them up now. Maybe I do. It's
we
good.
love stats.
I had a couple I wrote down. They're pretty wild. Oh, here they are. 177 catches, most ever by tight ends on a single day in NFL history. That's pretty crazy. I mean, the touchdowns I think were like up there, one of the highest, I think 8th. But more catches than any other day. How about it? Because it's been a slow year for tight ends as a whole. There's so many dynamic tight ends in this league. Guys that are like Dalton Kincaid and Sam Laporta that are all, really, really talented young tight ends, really off to slower starts. We know Travis Kelce off to a slower start. He has his first touchdown catch of the season, this past week. So it's going to be interesting maybe how the position starts to, there was a lot of emphasis, I'm told, by teams to stop the tight end spot heading into this year in terms of that chess match. And, man, they went off. And we need some more production out of the Denver Broncos tight end group for sure. And maybe they're starting to get a little bit of it. Adam Troutman. Okay. I like it.
Can we talk about some of the catches we saw from those guys, though?
Yeah.
I mean, like, not just easy balls to them. I mean, Adam Troutman's touchdown catch was absolutely insane. I was like, okay, like, show off for us a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, you want this one? Remember I was just talking about the Ravens looking for a trade?
Uh-huh.
So they're getting Deontay Johnson from the Carolina Panthers, who is going to be one of the biggest names out there on the trade market. And he is going to the Baltimore Ravens. This being Tuesday, I would think there's a chance that you see him Sunday.
Yeah, this just break?
An added weapon. Yeah, this is just coming out from everybody, from the swoon of people.
Interesting.
So I would say this is a guy that was almost guaranteed to be traded. And receiver is a big need for a lot of teams. Baltimore is one of them. They've seen Rashad Bateman play well. That Zay Flowers has been outstanding. It was almost like looking for another compliment to Zay in terms of how you make this move. But yeah, I would say that there's a decent chance with this being Tuesday. And Devontae Adams played within the week he was traded. Yep. Amari Cooper played within the week he was traded. DeAndre Hopkins played within the week he was traded. Yeah. So you would say that, there's a decent chance you see him on the field.
Well, now he's familiar with what the Broncos defense has done, right? So, like, he's got a little bit of an advantage, slightly right there. Obviously, got to learn the playbook for the Ravens, but still a little bit of an advantage right there. So, where do you rank this wide receiver room now for this Ravens team? Where did you have it before? Where did you rank it now?
I mean, they're not one of the best groups in football by any stretch, but they're playing with such an advantage, Rachel. That's the biggest thing. You have to load the box against the Baltimore Ravens. It's the best quarterback, running back combination the league has ever seen. No lie. So far with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And so if you want to, put bigger personnel on the field and stop Derrick Henry, you're going to be a little bit thin in the secondary about how you defend the passing game. That's one of the things that has made Baltimore so difficult to defend this year. And they use both of their tight ends really well. Isaiah Likely is essentially, if we want to talk about their, pass catching room, he's more of a wide receiver than a tight end. Likely is. Mark Andrews a little bit more of the tight end, but you really have Zay Flowers, who's gone over 100 yards, I think, in the last 3 games he's played. On our show, Steve Smith and I did an unbelievable. Steve really did. I won't take credit. Steve really did an unbelievable breakdown on Zay and the way he's taking advantage of a lot of these matchups that he's getting, because there's a lot of space to be had, because safeties have to crash down, linebackers have to come into the box, and so there's a lot of room to work out there. And so it's going to be interesting how Vance Joseph plays it. Like, I mean, I think this is one of those weeks where VJ's like, what do we do? How do we want to play this team? One way to do it is to get up early, and get up early in this game to, try to make Baltimore play from behind. And in turn, you would essentially see a little bit less of Derrick Henry. At least you would hope, and see what you can do. But right now, that's what you would want to try to do, is get out, to an early lead and try to get him off the field a little bit. Not like Justice Hill stinks by any stretch. That's why it's a tough team. But Zay is a tough cover, for sure. And then Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews is now in the mix. They got weapons. They certainly do. They just come from a variety of different ways, the way they play it.
Okay, I'm just going to flat out ask you, because it feels like Broncos country is kind of half and half split between people that are totally riding the boat train and are like, they can go out there and compete after what we saw against Panthers. But reminder to everyone, the Panthers are not a great football team.
They're not good.
I'll be nice.
No.
But then there's also other people that are like, they're going to get absolutely crushed this week. So James, where do you sit on where the Broncos will finish this week? Are they going to get absolutely slaughtered? Or is it going to be a game?
It's an opportunity for what we've called one of the best defenses in football, to go out there and prove it. I mean, I think that's really what it is. I mean, like I mentioned, the tall task they have, it's going to be physicality on physicality. And it's going to be, can they win that matchup up front? The front seven's been outstanding. The defensive line has been outstanding. Zach Allen is playing like an all-pro. I had a long conversation with Jonathan Franklin Myers last week in the locker room. He's got that first locker right there. I felt like I was in everybody's way standing there in the doorway. But we were talking forever about, we were kind of joking, like the physicality of football has gone away a little bit. I mean, with some of the rule changes and the way some of the things, I know it's safety is a big part of it, understandable. But the physicality part of the game, he was telling me, he's like, it's kind of gone away a little bit. And he was more or less telling me, Rachel, like, we know we're more physical than offensive lines. Most of the offensive lines we played, and we wear them out. And we, by the second half, we can sense that we're wearing them out. This is a physical, run the football Ravens team. It's in their culture. It's Harbaugh's way, right? Yeah. Can they out physical the line of scrimmage against this Ravens offensive line? I think they can. I really do. It's not like the Ravens line is unbelievable. They had to replace 60% of it this offseason. So that's a big change. Now they've been playing well, but I'm trying to think if they've played like a defensive line that's as physical as Denver's. And I'm going to try to just go look at their schedule real quick and say it. But that's the matchup I want to see. I mean, that's how they win. Yeah. That's how they go and win this game is if they can be more physical. I mean, Chiefs are a really good front, right? They lost that game. Yeah, nobody else other than Kansas City, I think, has a front that they faced.
I like Denver.
Like Denver, maybe Cleveland. Just they get after it. But I think that's what you rely on. And that's what the Broncos have relied on. And if they go out and can contain this team and contain this quarterback, I mean, that's really saying something for this defense that we've given a lot of props to this year.
Well, and I mean, what's really impressive about Derrick Henry is how old Derrick Henry is, how long he's been in the league now, and the fact that he's still being able to produce at this level, and he's still got the speed, and he's still able to carry guys. Like, Derrick Henry is a beast, but yeah, if you can, protect him and get him 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage all of a sudden because you're going in on all of them, then hopefully you can stop him and he doesn't get that 10 yards, and instead he's getting
you got to get him before he gets going, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's going to be such a fascinating game. You didn't really answer my question, though. Where are they going to sit, James?
Well, where do I sit? This is unlike the 2 previous weeks. I mean, it's not even close. I mean, you were playing a shell of a team with the New Orleans Saints, with the injuries that they were dealing with. And I'll be honest, I'm nervous for DA because with some of the quit that you saw there, you're seeing a guy in his second start in his NFL career. You're seeing Bryce Young, who's had one of the most, struggled, maybe, one of the most we've seen in their first 2 seasons. Lamar Jackson has better numbers right now through 8 games than he did in both of his MVP seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing a guy who's the front runner probably for his 3rd MVP.
Yeah.
His biggest competition is probably his teammate in Derrick Henry right now. I'd say Jared Goff, throw him in there as well. In terms of the talent you're facing, it's night and day from these last 2 weeks. I do think these 2 weeks help you build confidence, help you build, the direction that you want to head and the culture that Sean Payton's trying to build.
Yeah.
This is a completely different experience. I don't think they get their doors blown off. I don't think that's the case. I think Denver has become a legitimate football team. And I think I hope nobody takes that the wrong way. Like, I think that's a great compliment from where they've been these last couple of years. And for a team that many believed was going to win 5 games this year,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to be, and I said this at the start of the year, and I stand by this even more so now, like they're going to be competitive in every game.
Yeah.
And if you can be competitive against the Baltimore Ravens and it comes to the 4th quarter and you got a chance to win, which I think that could be the case, I think you're really on to something here in Denver.
Well, everyone's talking about, the Baltimore Ravens pass defense is so terrible. It's like, yes, I get they're ranked 32. I understand that. They also had 3 dropped interceptions last week. Like, they have the most dropped interceptions. So let's not just count them out and say the Broncos are going to be able to easily throw the ball and just be able to move down the field. Like, this Ravens defense, they may be ranked 32nd. They can still make some big plays.
Yeah, and they've been banged up back there. I mean, they were without Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey, their top 2 corners this past week against Cleveland. Kyle Hamilton doesn't usually play like this. He's one of the best safeties in football. You have Zach Orr as a young defensive coordinator coming in, replacing Mike McDonald, who was outstanding as a defensive coordinator there. There's a lot of new. There's a lot of new in this group. And so, there's ways you can beat them for sure. They're up in a lot of games, so teams have to throw the ball. That's another part of it. And they know they have to throw the ball and score points, because if they don't score points, they may not see the ball again with the way the Ravens run the football and stay on the field as an offense. So there's a couple things that play with this, but I think that circles back to the beginning of the conversation, right? It's like, I think they can protect Bo Nix against this front. I really do. And can the rookie go out and make some plays? We've seen him grow. He just played his best game of his career by far. It's not even close. Yep. I think that's the best thing you could have coming into this game. Can guys get some separation? Can there be a great game plan of balance against this defense? You can put points on them for sure. The real thing we all should be watching is this Broncos defense against this Ravens offense. I mean, that's going to be so fun to watch and dissect.
That is the matchup right there. We've been talking about this Broncos defense all year because they've impressed us more than we originally thought they were going to. That's the matchup. It's going to be so much fun. James Palmer, always a pleasure. I heard you're breaking news two weeks in a row here.
On the show. Yeah, we did it. I think we did it last week. But it was fun. I was doing it like I was texting the GM. What were we doing? I can't remember. There's been a lot of moves lately. And I was like, can I do this right now? I'm trying
real quick, last one.
That's what I was trying to do last week.
Last one. The talk about Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper. Is it smoke? Is it very likely? What are your feelers on this?
I wouldn't move from Jonathan Cooper at all. I would think Baron Browning is potentially available. If you want to lock up somebody like Coop long term, you probably don't have Baron Browning as part of your future plans. That's the conversation that you need to have. Like, you look at all the guys that just got moved before we bounce here. Is like DeAndre Hopkins was not going to be on the Titans next year, no matter what. Devontae Adams was never going to play another down for the Raiders after this year. Amari Cooper, I was told specifically, is not part of our plans after this season. Deontay Johnson was not part of the Panthers' plans after this season. I know these are all wide receivers, but that's almost the number one criteria when you're trading somebody at the deadline is, are they or are they not part of our plans after this season? Well, he's not under contract. He's had injury. He's had issues with staying healthy. I think he has a ton of talent. And if he puts it together, he can be a really good speed pass rusher that has just really great NFL traits. But if Nick Bonito keeps playing this way, Jonathan Cooper's playing this way, Jonah Ellis is playing, like,
you got your guys.
Then and you need picks. That's when usually trades end up happening. We'll see if anything happens, but that's usually the criteria.
All right, Jim Palmer, you go break some other news. Have a great Tuesday. Everybody else, thank you guys for hanging out with us in comments, and we will see
Next week's going to be fun. Next week's going to be fun.
I can't wait, James. We're back, baby.
Yep.
Excited to have you.
Good to have you back.
Plenty to get into. Again, 2 big games because these next 2 weeks. So we'll see everybody later.
Monsters. Yeah.
Bye.
Take it easy.